the whole cheating element of it, you can feel that. You can hear that. You
Yeah.
know, it's not gonna make you write a better song than say, you know, Ashford and Simpson wrote back in Motown in the '60s. You're not gonna go and top them with an AI record. You're not gonna top, you know, what we've done, you know,
Mm-hmm.
lyrically with an
Mm-hmm.
AI record. You can just gaslight people into thinking that you're a producer and a composer by letting AI do everything for you. That's anybody can do that. And the funny thing is, it's going to show because of the AI footprint. Everybody can hear the same thing. You can see, like when you look at AI videos, you can see the fakeness in them. You can see where
Yeah.
they don't have it right. It's jittery and
Yeah.
it's artificial.
What's up, everybody? Well, this week we have episodes 21 through 40, some of the best moments and my favorite moments from those shows. Want to give a big shout out to all my guests for the first 40 shows. It was been amazing. Thank you so much for coming. We have some great things lined up for you all as well. So without further ado, here's episodes 21 through 40. Real quick, if you're new here, welcome to the TrevBeats Show. Hit subscribe so we can keep building together. And to my regulars who show up every time, I see you. And your viewership means everything. If you ever want to help fuel this channel so we can do even bigger things, you can grab some fresh gear from the merch store below or jump into the backstage membership next to the subscribe button. Now back to the show.
TrevBeats Show, TrevBeats Show. TrevBeats Show, TrevBeats Show.
Yeah, and I to touch on that too, it's like, like you had musicians selling instruments. It's a different thing, right? Like, you actually had musicians that sold, instruments. And a lot of these guys, I remember going to Guitar Center in West Covina, and like in the guitar department, the dude who was selling like strings and guitars was like from the group Striper. Like,
Right.
they would hear you play and they were like, "Oh, well, I'll help you." And they test the guitar, but play in front of you. And man, those were experiences that you went home with. Like, just imagine you're there for like 2 hours and you go home and you're like, this guy played like this. And, it's a deep dive for you as a creative and a musician. Like, you want to play more and you want that in your life. Now it's like going to a car dealership, man. They're just trying to sell you something. And it's like,
Yeah.
And, we've had the luxury of working together for so long, man. I'm talking about it since as kids. We've always played together. Everything we've ever done has always been complementary to one another. And that's just something we've always carried on. And I think that's been a true testament to our catalog and our body of work. And, a disagreement for us in the creative space looks like this. You know what, Bob? Yeah, maybe just try this here, there. Maybe that looks like, hey, man, maybe try a different rhythm here, whatever. That's how we cook and how we bake. And, we're always driven by the goosebumps, man. It's like if there's a performance Bob is doing on his keys and it gets you feeling that way. And, that's, there's no like, oh man, man, I'll see you tomorrow, man. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like it's never been like that for us. And I think that's the beauty of our brotherhood. You know what I mean?
yeah, what does Jimmy Jam always say? He said, an argument is when you're trying to win, right? So somebody's got to win the argument. Disagreement is just, try this, try that, and I think that's been our magic,
Right.
I asked Terry not too long ago, man, and I said, T, what made you roll the dice on two Mexican kids out of a small town in California, right? At a time when you could have had anybody. And he said, I never looked at your color. I looked at your ability.
Mm.
And, I think when I look back at our relationship and the closest that we've cultivated with them, it's music was just a piece of it.
Yeah.
But the bigger picture was who we were going to become as men, right? And how we were going to move and navigate when we became fathers, right? And Terry was always big on family. And I think those are the most prized possessions out of the relationship that he could ever gave us, was the more important things after music,
That's
So, those are our heroes, man. We call them our Black musical fathers.
That's-
Like,
Come on.
that's what they are, you know?
So like if I'm playing with Jeffrey And this is no knock or anything. It's just different, two different gigs. So like with different gig or pretty much with any other, or even with my band, it's like I can be playing the music and I can have just a little random moment, just a different thought, like not even thinking about the music and kind of come back to it.
Yeah.
I can't do that with Janet. because it's like as soon as I think about something else, I'm gonna miss something. I'm gonna miss a patch turn. I'm gonna miss a note, a hit. It's just because it's so much going on in the music, like, and everybody's relying on each other.
Yeah.
To make this show push forward. Yeah. So back in 2017, I had a follower who reached out to me. He was just asking, "Hey, do you have any merch online that I can support your brand? Because I like your plan. I like what you're doing. I love your content." At the time, I didn't, but that just sparked an idea for me to, put something out of my own. Initially, the idea wasn't to start a brand, but it was just to put out some merch. So, like he said, so people could support what I do.
Right.
And me, I didn't want to just put something out with my name on it or my face on it. I wanted to put something out that was universal and that the drum community could relate to.
Yeah.
And that just got me to thinking of, different ideas. And one thing I remember when I was a young musician growing up is that older musicians, they were just like, just telling me, "Hey man, if you understand pocket, if you know how to play in a pocket, then you'll get the calls, or pocket pays the bills."
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, man, okay, that's definitely something that I believe in as a musician, and I believe that that's something I've kept in mind over the years, and that has contributed to my success as a musician.
So,
right.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't play really fast. I wasn't that musical. But when I was first, coming up or, coming up on the scene, the local scene, I did used to shed with a lot of people. I had a season of that, but I made a conscious decision to kind of stop doing so much of that and start spending time on the instrument myself and just like allowing myself to just be free on the instrument. It's like I was still listening to music and stuff like that, listening to other drummers, but it's like I didn't do so much of that though.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, I just allowed myself to kind of evolve and be within my own group of community of people, like my band, like Four Corners. That's really when I feel like I began to evolve. So like,
funny story. I told them no at first because Trevor, in this business, your word means everything. And I had told the contractor from Ain't Too Proud that I would give him a year on the road.
I see.
And that's the first thing he asked for. And I was 4 months into that Ain't Too Proud contract when I got that opportunity from Hamilton. And, also in this business, when you get an opportunity, you say yes and you figure the rest out. So I did the audition. After they offered me the job, I told them I'm going to have to respectfully decline because I was still in my contract with Ain't Too Proud and I didn't want to ruffle any feathers or do anything that would give me a bad name. And I heard back from the contractor and he said, "We knew we had the right person from a musical aspect, but the fact that you're willing to leave money on the table just to honor your word lets us know that we had the right person from a personality perspective." And I've played this show so much. If a gun was to my head, I could play it by memory, but I still read it. I still read it because it gives me a visual representation of where my attention should be.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to just winging it because, you close your eyes, you catch a vibe, the consistency may be there, but it might not be there to the point we were just talking about Alex Lacamoire.
Yeah.
You might do something a little different that pulls his ear. Or you might do something that might even musically sound great, but it's not what the lighting or automation or sound team is used to, or the actors are used to. You do some crazy feel that you didn't do before, and now they miss that entrance,
Yeah.
Or, stage management says, "Man, that was good." But in that moment, you've missed the mark because you made that moment about you as opposed to being the smaller cog in the bigger wheel.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, and understanding how to keep the main thing and understand that you were there to do a job. I liken it to, what if you had a tire that was trying to be an engine?
Right. Right.
It's not going to work out well
Yeah.
for you. You know,
Yeah.
you're not like, when I moved to New York, I've been here consistently since about September.
Mhm.
And everybody marvels at the fact that it was like, wow, man, you got here and you got right to work. You know, it was like, well, yeah, like reputation and resume allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't a direct line.
Right.
You know, I did 4 or 5 years of touring on Broadway shows before being able to get here and have the notoriety and the trust
Right.
of these music directors to have me sit in their chairs, simply because it was like, well, we see what he can do. I'm not this unknown, unproven entity. No different than when someone calls you for a gig. They know what they're getting because there's resume and there's reputation.
Right.
And I will tell you this, he works harder for the groove than any person I've ever worked with in my life. Every gig after that gig became like a walk in the park.
Wow.
When it came to groove, because he worked, and in the heat of it, when you're young, the last thing as a drummer, you want somebody questioning your time or your feel or your pocket. But he had explanations of where he wanted things. I'll give you an example. He wanted the kick drum in the middle, the snare drum on the back side, and the hi-hat on the front side of this groove. He doesn't want it to sit, he's not interested in the click or metronome. He wants it to sit not like this. He wants it to sit like this. And when it comes to the chorus, he wants the chorus to move again. He wants the verse to come back down and settle. It's peaks and valleys. So DNA, our fingerprint, I feel that's our DNA.
Yeah. Yeah.
You, me, and 10,000 drummers could play a James Brown groove, our favorite James Brown groove. It's going to sound different 10,000 times.
Yep. Exactly.
It's going to be the same, but it's going to feel different. If it's down to the minute of where I put my grace note or where I put my hi-hat, it's not going to be the same.
And
I was fortunate to be on the Two Against Nature record with Steely Dan. So when I went in to record, first of all, nobody knew who ended up on the recording because we all played the same songs. The only song that none of the other drummers played was Gaslighting Abby. When Ricky Lawson did that, which is the opening song on the record, we didn't cut that one. They loved that one. They were good because Ricky had been touring with him.
Right.
So I went to New York twice. I went 4 days the first time and 5 days the second time. So the first time I went in after Ricky. So I ended up playing Remo drums and did the whole 4 days on that. Then the second time I went back, I went in after Vinny. So Vinny played, and then so the drummers was Sonny Emery, Vinny, Keith Carlock, Ricky, myself, and I forgot the other drummer from New York. I can't remember his name. So nobody knew who played on what. So I get a call from Mark Stevens and said, "Congratulations, you're on the single." I'm like, "Of what?" "Of Steely Dan." The second call I get was from Bernard Purdy. Purdy calls me and says, "Man, Mike White, I love your plan. Congratulations and welcome to a very distinct drum club. Everybody can."
The late great John Blackwell was standing right behind me.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey man, I want you to come in this room real quick." And now mind you, I'm 16. So I'm like, I don't care how much of a fan I am of you. I heard about these back rooms in LA and I don't want no parts. Let me go get my mama, right? So, and I told him that. I said, let me go get my mom first. He said, mind you, I'm a kid, okay? So 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 he said, listen, man, it ain't no weird business, ain't no freaky business. I just think you should come back here. I'm like, all right, man. And it was still, looking back on it, it was still very unwise that I still didn't go get my mom. Cause I don't know, but something in my heart said that this guy, John Blackwell, has a good heart, has a good soul, and I'm in good hands.
Yeah.
Watch this. I went to the back. He said, we can leave the door open if you want. I was like, all right, he's cool. All right. So we shut the door and I'm in a room. I forget the other guys' names, but he said, you probably don't know them. You're probably too young, but these are legendary drummers. It was like 3 other drummers in there.
Mm-hmm.
And John Blackwell brought me in the back. He said, listen, man, he said, everybody did great tonight, but your musicality, I hear something different with you. And he said, if this was an audition for a gig, he said, I would have picked you tonight. And so I'm cool. I'm like, man, I played arena. It's all good. Like I'm coasting, I'm chilling, right? One day I did a bunch of gigs and I'm very grateful to have worked with the amount of artists that I've worked with. I'm going to tell you about something life-changing. I went home to Kansas City for Christmas. And I'll never forget, I was in the car with my dad and I get a call from Damo Farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yo, man, what you doing? I said, man, I'm just in the car with my dad. And he said, we got the B account. You already know what time it is. Click. And I'm like, what? And I'm going to end my very long story with something very poetic. Now, in Kansas City, you remember I was driving past the Sprint Center, now the T-Mobile Center.
Yeah.
And what happened is that I looked at the arena and I was like, yo, I'm going to play in you one day.
Yep.
The sad part about it is that to this day, I have still never gotten the chance to play in that 20,000 seater arena.
Wow.
But the very last show of the Renaissance World Tour ended in Kansas City, to where we played a sold out show at Arrowhead Stadium.
Exactly.
To answer your question, man, is throwing ego out of the window. Yeah. You know, you cannot approach something of that magnitude with ego. You know, it's being able to be, you know, I guess have a certain level of servitude when you walk into any musical situation with that type of band or that type of setup. And it's funny because when we play together, people see 2 drummers and they're like, oh man, it's going to be loud. You know what I mean? And it's so like, it's such an amazing thing for me to see when we play the first song and people look at us like, wait, this is cool. This is kind of cool. Like they're playing with each other. They're, you know, I told the guys, my objective has always been to make people forget their 2 drummers immediately. Because I wanted to feel like it's imperative that you don't box yourself in. Meaning, you know, I found a lot of students that it's like, they're incredible at jazz and this is what they wanted to play, which is awesome. But it's also like, if you want to eat, if you want to pay your bills, you got to be able to pivot. You know what I mean? So that's been a huge thing, especially at Frost, that I really had to kind of, you know, take a few people, you know, aside and say, hey, you have some extremely like amazing talent, but you need to understand what's out there waiting. You know, listen, man, not to cut you off, but I really had a moment, like I said, a few years back where I learned that a few no's changed the trajectory of my career. Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate thing was like a few of the no's had to be for people I've been working with for years. You know what I mean? And it was tough because it was like, listen, I understand my worth. And sometimes like I struggle with that all my life. Like, oh, knowing my worth, you know, it could come off as you being arrogant or right. whatever. But for me, the moment I realized that what we do is also a transactional industry too. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you're asking me to provide a service, you know what I mean? And you're asking me to execute. So that means I should be compensated, according to what it is you're asking me to do. And once I really had that epiphany, it changed everything for me, and it helped me to say no without any malice in my heart. It's just like, hey, okay, cool, I appreciate it. If you can't do this, maybe next time. You know what I mean? And the more I started to do that, I really just watched God kind of like open doors for me. It's like, all right, cool. Now that you understand how much more you're worth, certain doors will start to open up for you. And certain people ain't gonna pick up the phone no more until they come correct either.
Man, it was honestly, it was a show by show, year by year thing. Because after the audition, they gave me the same iPod, and they had some like 300 some songs on there, man. And it was like impossible to learn everything within a week and a half. So
Sure.
I learned the main songs because I went and watched Chris Johnson play the show like 3 times. So I remember writing down those songs that he did at those shows, and I learned those songs for the most part. But those are the hits that he's gonna do no matter what.
Yeah.
So I pretty much learned those. And the way Stevie is, man, he's been playing those songs forever, man. He didn't want to play them in sound check.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So sound check was no help, man, because sound check, he come in writing a new record.
Exactly.
So pretty much I was learning the gig on the spot. And Stevie's so free with it, he doesn't like to rehearse so much. But I understand, he's been playing those songs for God knows decades.
Exactly.
So I think he liked the fact that it was fresh, so like I remember he told me before, if you mess up, man, mess up loud and do it again, because it's just, I guess it made the music new to him all over again. And I was just sitting out here, surviving off of whatever royalty paychecks and placements and, church gigs and and local stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I went through that whole struggle doing that. But it was my best decision, man, which I thank you for, like you and Nissan Stewart.
Yeah.
Eric Seats.
Yep.
People like that it really just gave me the push to be like, yeah, bro, you should just, if that's where your heart is, man, go for it. Cause and just the reward from being a producer was just, in my opinion, so much greater than, being a drummer and now, playing drums has definitely taken me all over the world. I've seen some of the most amazing things, but like it's nothing like being a producer and creating something amazing, and then you see all these people, hundreds of thousands of people singing and dancing and vibing to what you created, man. It's like making you be one accord with everyone. So like that's been like my best.
Give us your take on AI.
I love it, man, and it makes the job easier. I don't see it no different than anything technology-wise that has been given to us. I'm pretty sure when the drum machine came out, drummers was like, "Oh man, you replacing me? You trying to take my job, man? I'm the one who played the beats in the studio." You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure they all said that, man. But what I've learned is, if you don't be a part of the evolution, you will get left behind. Yeah. And I refuse to be left behind. And
The color was the warmth. That was what the tape machine imparted. It gave you second and third harmonic distortion. Harmony and turned up is what that is. It turns up the harmonies, and you feel them differently. Like it's like piano chords, major and minor. That's what harmonics are in tape. So when you take the tape machine away, we all got these records that were demoed. They all still sound like demos because they haven't been committed to tape. And when you commit to tape, it just makes better vinyls. Like I'm reluctant to buy vinyls outside of Tyler the Creator for my grandson. I'm reluctant to buy vinyls because I know that they're not using tape. It's too expensive. It's too avant-garde, if you will. But that was the glue That was the color. It's like everything sounds to me, if you give it a color palette, everything is pastel and earth tone, whereas tape was dumb colorful, super colorful. There's pros and cons to it.
Yeah.
It just like anything. Too much of it is bad for you.
Yeah.
It's just like soda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like sugar. It's too much of it is bad. If it's used the right way, it's dope. If it's used in conjunction with what you do creatively, then it's true to what we like. It's true to
Yeah.
what we're used to. Um, but the whole cheating element of it, you can feel that. You can hear that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna make you write a better song than say, Ashford and Simpson wrote back in Motown in the '60s. You're not gonna go and top them with an AI record. You're not gonna top, what we've done,
Mm-hmm.
lyrically with an
Mm-hmm.
AI record. You can just gaslight people into thinking that you're a producer and a composer by letting AI do everything for you. That's anybody can do that. And the funny thing is, it's going to show because of the AI footprint. Everybody can hear the same thing. You can see, like when you look at AI videos, you can see the fakeness in them. You can see where
Yeah.
they don't have it right. It's jittery and
Yeah.
it's artificial.
Yeah.
Basically, I can speak to the 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 fact that he was never in the room with me.
Mm-hmm.
It meant that he was in all of them other 7 studios because I was in number 8. But
Mm-hmm.
when he came in, I had something ready for him. We
Right.
pushed the tape, push play on the tape machine, and the shit would start spinning up, and he'll sit down with his pen and paper, start writing, roll a blunt, start writing, go in there. All right, I got it. Just like I've seen Jay-Z do that too, personally. Same
Mm-hmm.
kind of work ethic where they they don't have time for bullshit. They just want to keep um, archiving their life, and sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd go in there, he'd spit that shit, he'd do the overdubs, he'd be like, all right, quick, put a hook here, and for the most part, it was it was surreal to see somebody work that hard. You know what I mean?
Well, I have always, ever since the first video that took off, I always had this hope of being able to change how companies looked at musicians, and that included drum companies and different music companies. I wanted to broaden the landscape, like I said, of like, oh, you're a drummer, so that means that you're gonna get a drum endorsement and a stick endorsement, and you're gonna be happy with that, But it was like, no, I think that if I remember I used to think things like if Michael Jordan can be on a Wheaties box, I don't understand why a drummer can't also do the exact same thing, like build a
Yeah.
brand that is that strong. So I would say that experience really was the moment where it fed into the idea of me becoming an artist because she taught me intentionality, like when you're really behind the scenes and you see all of the people in place that make sure that she looks a certain way and that the audience feels a certain way during a certain moment. I was like, oh, like because from the TV screen or from like the audience, it just kind of looks like, wow, that just happened. Like how, But it's
Right.
like, no, like when you go to the rehearsals, it's like she planned that.
Yeah.
So that means I could plan this. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Right.
I could really have a vision of what I want people to feel. And even when that comes to my content, that was something that I early on implemented of like, I want this to be a moment, so I'm gonna plan for the moment. I'm gonna like actually like make the whole feeling happen. Like, and it became very intriguing to me and exciting
Yeah.
to be able to tap into the visual artistry the way that she did. So I think every single artist, not even just her, but everybody, like Willow, Harry Styles, they
Mm-hmm.
all taught me something about artistry
Mm-hmm.
and the important elements that need to be there for the audience to feel a part of your journey rather than they're just witnessing it.
Yeah.
This album is more so about my story than this like brand that I've created, which I've, over time have transformed from being on like a in a gold and very what's the word, regal, and having all of these different themes. This is just me, and this is just like the weird musician me that I have held back all these years after being told by labels like, oh, that's a little too complex. Oh, that's a little bit too much. Like the general public won't get that. This is me just saying, screw that. Not completely, but in a sense where I can really just be fearless with sharing myself. So that's really the main thing I'm working on. There's
Well, I think back then we didn't necessarily, at least my generation didn't necessarily draw the distinction between what it meant to be a solo artist and what it meant to be an artist playing music. The differentiation for us wasn't about, ooh, I want to have a record deal. It was really about, I want to be so good that I could play with my heroes. I could play with this person. I could play with Miles. I could play with Michael Jackson. I could play with Frank Sinatra. I could play with we wanted to be so bad that we could play with anybody. We loved the music that much. And at that time, you're talking about a generation of people who grew up with Stevie Wonder and James Brown and Sly Stone, also with Miles Davis and John Coltrane, and who heard that music and that span of music that was all representative of a certain level of excellence.
Yeah.
And well, basically, the session was just recreating what had started as a result of Freddie used to live with my family. When he first came from Oakland, he stayed with us because he wanted to get into the studio thing.
Freddie Washington. Freddie
Washington. And that the bass line is totally him.
Right.
Totally him. If I had the initial impetus to know that was special, that would be the gift that I brought to the table, and then it developed from there. But in terms of that bass line, the idea of how that would flow, that was all Freddie.
Yeah.
And the idea of collaboration is just that spoke to me, and it spoke to Terry McFadden, who came up with the lyric concept. And then it evolved from that. But it evolved with something that was so special, and that was that bass line. But where it's getting a little bit precarious for me is that some of the ability to do that has suddenly been replaced with the idea of that you don't have to do the work to become a musician or to become an artist. The things that were a part of that journey that made it not only interesting, but fun and allowed you to find your creative self. Some of those things are being wiped away in a very subtle way with the consciousness of young people who want to play music.
Right.
It's like, well, you need to do the work. And I don't understand. Music is one of the few things that art. You're not going to escape the idea of what it is that allows you to feel a certain way about art, and then be able to understand and participate by doing it, studying with masters of it, and living that kind of experience so that it influences the art that you put out there. And there's aspects of that AI is just not going to be able to do.
Some people only listen to Eric Moore, the choppers. They only want to hear those chops, and you see it in people's playing and how I'm maneuvering around drums and doing all of this crazy stuff. And a lot of people don't never pay attention that I literally tour the world playing pocket or playing rock music or doing, and it's crazy. It could be like my career has been over the span of 25 years, but they only know Eric Moore from Missy Elliott, Get Your Freak On.
Right.
That's it. They don't even know. They don't know that I was in Suicidal Tendencies. They don't know that my first gig I ever had in 2004, 2005 was Sly and the Family Stone.
Right. And when you play with Bobby too, like they don't know.
Yeah. Then I go from that to Bobby Brown, El DeBarge, Chico DeBarge. Like I've had some of the most solid and foundation. Belle Biv DeVoe. Like I've literally played like that era of music, and I mean not just for like one show. Like I've toured with these artists for a very, very long time and had a great career playing that music and just being taught by that lineage of musicians that know about that sound. So I just see it as AI to me is a tool, just like back in the day, everybody thought that when drum machines came around, drum machines was going to take over drumming.
Right.
And as we can see, drummers are at a force, and drummers can do more than AI. Now, when it comes to recording and a person being able to type in I would like Trev Lawrence. I would like Trev Lawrence sound as Trev Lawrence would play Latin percussion on this record. Can you give me Trev Lawrence beats on my record? The see what's crazy because you have so much music recorded and AI can go in and dig up every single
Right.
thing that you've ever recorded and be you.
Right.
Now that's where they can dissect it and it's getting better and better. So
Yeah.
when it comes to recording, AI can take your recording and definitely give them a sound and an approach that is damn near close to you.
Yep.
And as years get better, it'll be you. It'll
Right.
definitely be you. The same way I could literally make a fake Eric Moore and he could be sitting here talking to you right now and he could answer questions just like me because I have so much on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Now everybody's setting up 8, 10, snare drum, 12, 16. It's like, hey bro, everybody, hey, no matter how amazing Sticks Taylor is GOAT, CJ Thompson is GOAT, no matter how GOAT these drummers are, you have to at least try to be your own self, bro.
Right.
Just
Right.
be yourself a little bit.
Right.
Find yourself in
Right.
what you're doing. Those songs, there's so much music in the world. You could literally put on a rock song on your phone, on
Right.
Apple Music, and it's going to give you 1,000 songs back to back that's different. Why are we all playing the same song every day on Instagram? Come on.
It started actually, yeah, I was 18, 19 years old, and I was still living at my mom's house.
Gotcha.
And so you got to remember, this is before cell phones, before pagers, before services, before all of that.
Yeah.
So my service, my pager, my everything was Blanche Lucille Jackson.
That's right.
And she knew how to find me. It's like wherever I was. The funniest one was I was at the gym one day and I'm doing something. I'm in the locker room, phone rings. Yeah, is there a Paul, it's a paging Paul Jackson Jr. I pick it up. Yeah, it's your mom. It's, I pick it up. Yeah, are you available for this session? I was like, how did she find me at the gym? But that was the thing, and she always knew where I was. So you're absolutely right. Back in the day, if you wanted me to play on a session, you had to call my house. And like you said, it's the dial-up phone, and and my mom would book it. I'll tell you a funny story about that is Michael Jackson called the house once.
Wow.
And my mother is, she's a, your iconoclastic black mom. So phone rings. She said, hello? Yeah, hello? Is Paul there? And she's like, who is this?
Right.
This is Michael. She's like, boy, quit playing on my phone, and hung up the phone.
Oh man. Wow.
And fortunately he called back. Yeah. So I sat in there and came up with stuff, play. And the funny thing is the first part I played, actually the second part I played ended up being the majority of the record. But I just played. And one thing that happened was in the bridge, pretty young thing, you make me sing, Jenna, all that stuff. Okay. So I brought it in, and then in the vamp, I dropped it out, and Quincy said, no. So once you bring that sound in, you got to keep it in because it's big. It takes the record to another level. So he just let me create, gave me a bunch of tracks. I think it's like 7 tracks of guitar or something like that. Yeah. And he just let me create. And that was the thing about Quincy is he would let you go. But true story. So I'm in the studio with Daft Punk. This is after Random Access Memories. We're recording for a day, coming up with stuff. And it never came out. So I'm not worried about it. So I'm driving down the street one day. I was in Culver City. I remember exactly where I was. And I hear this record by The Weeknd. It comes on. I said, oh, man, that sounds pretty good. I said, man, the guitar sounds pretty good. I said, wait a minute, that's me. And then I realized that it was a collab between The Weeknd and Daft Punk. And it's like, so one of the songs we cut that day turned into I Feel It Coming.
Got you. That's hilarious,
so
man. Hilarious.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, so those would be some. I'm trying to think what else. The guitar solo on This Place Hotel, Heartbreak Hotel.
Oh man.
For Michael. And the reason is because he sang it to me.
Oh man, that was an incredible experience. Shout out to Don Cheadle and Robert Glasper for making that happen. It was a scenario to I basically got a chance to speak like my proverbial musical father. You know, it's like, when we're at home, your parents teach you, for the most part, your parents teach you. And then over time, you might mimic them sometimes, but then there's a scenario where, maybe your parents are gone and it's time for you to basically pray.
Right.
And most of the time you're going to sound just like them because you've been listening to that for so long. You've been living that reality for so long. So, that's the way I see it. It was a special undertaking because it wasn't something that I had to list, be like, okay, we're going to do this milestone. We're going to play 60s, 50s. We're going to do 70s. We're going to do the 80s, go home and practice. It wasn't that. I've been listening listening and going with that my entire life from the age of, 14, 15 years old to when my mom first started buying me those records, Conda Blue and Birth of the Cool. So it was always a part of me. So I had the opportunity to express, outwardly exactly what was inside of me. I wanted to be a drummer. That didn't work out because everybody wanted to play drums. So somebody had to play the horn. So, the horn was put in my hand and, I started practicing, started playing, and I started getting good at it. So I couldn't switch to the drums. But my brother, I always tell this story. My brother Emmanuel is now playing with Gregory Porter, been playing with him for years. He started off on horn too, but, he couldn't go back because he didn't progress on the horn. So he was allowed to switch to the drums and the rest is history.
Wow.
So again, being in the studio with Beyonce, being in the studio with Jay-Z and Mac Miller and working with D'Angelo, literally being the only musician on stage with D'Angelo, on some of his final performances is, I didn't have that on my bingo card. Again, having an incredible collective of amazing friends that we get together and create amazing stuff all the time, from Terrence Martin to Robert Glasper and Kamasi Washington, yourself, and projects that we have coming out really soon. It's such an amazing ride. Again, from working with Elton John and so many other people you would never even imagine that this horn coming out of Ferguson would be touching the world over and over again. It's such a special thing, and I'm humbled by the idea that this is only ground zero, that we're going to go higher. So every day, that's what keeps me coming back, knowing that there's some dopeness waiting to be discovered, man.
Yeah.
And what's nice too is, a lot of that drum and bass stuff, depending on who it is impossible to execute in real time. So by failing, inevitably failing, you land in a place that's unique to you.
Yeah.
Like for example, if we checked out like a GAD thing real quick and this beautiful like GAD groove or something, and then we take an hour and try to figure it out and come back, we'd probably be, it wouldn't be GAD, but we'd be close, and you and I would sound similar.
Right.
It'd be close because it's on a kit. It's a guy playing in real time on an acoustic kit. So we could get close. But if we took even 8 bars of some Aphex Twin shit and go our separate ways, we're going to come back with really different results. And it was something I had thought about a lot over the years. And I was always just too nervous to even follow through. And I knew, like, okay, the only way to pull this off is just put it in the calendar, book a show. I booked Zebulon. I booked a couple at Zebulon here in LA. And I knew as it was approaching, because I was never going to feel ready, in quotes,
Right.
So I knew I just had to book it. And then when that day comes, there's either a show or there isn't,
Right.
So I as expected, I was feeling these nerves that I hadn't felt in a long time. I always felt like the guy, I don't get nervous, like we're just going to go play, that's what we do. For me, the playing is the most relaxing part of the day on the road, and like, oh, finally, Now we can just play, you know?
Yeah.
Now maybe if I look over and I see you and Herbie in the wings, I might get a little nervous, but you know, um, but that thing of like, okay, that day came and I started to feel all this stuff, and it actually helped me like re rethink my relationship to being nervous, because when I was young, nervous started to feel like I wasn't prepared or something, like what's going to go wrong. And now this version of nervous was like, oh wow, I really care, and like this is important to me. And you know, it was more about like, it almost became like a positive signal of like, yes, you're entering this vulnerable place, and that's the point. You know what I mean? So
That's
yeah,
pretty
so that
amazing.
was this is it's my advice, because I'm saying it to myself right now, actually, is try to learn as much about yourself as you can. And because I felt like I spent so much time trying to learn about everybody else, you know, and I didn't even leave time to learn about myself. But obviously, the more you can learn about yourself, hopefully that's the thing you could put out into the world. And obviously, it goes without saying, that's the thing that, you know, there is space for you in the world.
Yeah.
My dad was very proud of me. He wanted to come see one of my sessions. And I was sitting there, you know, with either an MPC 60 or a Lin 9000, and I was time correcting stuff and really, you know, making, you know, it was the 80s. It was like, dun, 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 you know,
Right.
and my dad, after the session, after he saw me like time correcting everything and making it perfect, he said, you know, he said he was proud of me, but he said, I just want to tell you something. And I said, what's that? He goes, people want to hear people. But I see it as something ultimately that's going to dumb down everybody. And, you know, from people I talk to that are high up in positions, I mean, they're saying like 2 years from now, no more white collar jobs. You probably shouldn't even go to college. It's not going to make sense, because, you know, kids are going to spend what, you know, $100,000, $150,000, maybe more. They go to Ivy League. They're never getting that money back.
Right.
And I said, like, no, I'm not going to do that, because it's going to be an AI company. They're just going to use AI music.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, but you know, you're an expert, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, first of all, I'm not doing stuff for free. And second of all, there's no upside for me in the end.
Right.
So he's like going, oh, but I'm really stuck. I said, hey, listen, man, it's an AI company. Just go on Suno and do it there, you know?
Right. Right.
And so he goes on ChatGPT, reads a whole thing about how to compose for film, right? Then he goes on to Suno, and then he calls me and he's so excited. Oh, I didn't know. Like, you guys know a lot of stuff. And he goes through all these terms, right? And how he constructed his thing. And I just said, hey, dude, you, because it's like, I spent, you know, basically 55 years of my life learning how to do this, and you think you're a composer in an afternoon.
Right.
But people think that.
Right.
I'm a composer now. And what it was is, in the second verse, she modulated the second verse. I think down or something, or up, or she modulated up. Now, I've never had, in all my years, I don't think I've really come across that. Maybe I have, but I don't remember. But it was an oddball move on it. That's what makes Diane great.
Right.
She knows how to throw those, you know, those left curves into things. And so when the AI learned it, it didn't do that. It didn't know to do that because it didn't exist before. So it can't write the wrong chord at the wrong chord at the right time.
Right. Right. It's always
It didn't know that.
And
then, you know, I told Diane about it. She goes like, hey, you know what? That's cool and everything, but don't do that because it's learning my stuff.
True.
She goes, I don't want you putting any more songs into AI. And I said, agreed.
So since I played locally around in Philadelphia, he knew me, he saw me. He said, hey, I got this gig that I'm about to do, this girl named Aaliyah, along with this guy named Genuine, and I want you to be the drummer. This was the introduction to Timberland's style of, you know, music or style of drums. So I credit Johnny. This is my big tour, and big not just in those names weren't really huge as they are now, but not just big and producer of Timberland or status of Aaliyah and Genuine. The big part was every time Johnny told me every time that I point at you, I want you to play everything you know. This is a musical director.
Wow.
Telling me, right? Telling me every time I point at you, I want you to play everything you know. And if you look back at some of those videos, you'll see when it's going to the chorus, about to go to the chorus, he's standing over top of me pointing, and I will play, everything I knew. The moral of the story is that by him allowing me to showcase my skill level at that particular time, all the rest of the opportunities started coming in. That's how Usher with Valdez Brantley, that's how all of them saw me. I was young, I was had a little ego on me and everything, but what do you mean 7%? But I'm Brian Fraser Moore. What do you mean? I'm out here playing this. They said, yeah, no, we know Brian, but listen, it's our wood. It's our lugs. It's our hoops. It's ours. It's ours.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. So fast forward, I had the signature snare with Pearl. That was some big realizations. And so that was my talks with them. Guys, how can I get more than the small percentage?
Right.
Brian, you know what? If you act as a distributor, which means that your logo is trademarked, which means that we are a viable company. If we want to use your logo on your snare, on your cymbal, you have to own it. And you have to show us that you can. And you need a seller's permit. You gotta handle business in order for business to get handled, right? Okay, right. So now here I am, a distributor. So my percentage is not 7% anymore. I'm not just getting that; it's in the 30s now.
Yeah.
So bigger piece of the pie. So for me, I got into the music business for business first. I didn't get into the music business for, hey, I want the world to hear. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I hear comments and things that I don't particularly like, and I always stay quiet about people being an artist versus a side man. What is this, yo?
Right.
What are we talking about here, bro? Listen, do what's good for you. Do what's going to feed your family, feed your soul, feed your lane. Do what you do. I love it.
I went into the first rehearsal. I thought, I can improvise because I was playing with Freddie and all these people. And man, he wiped me out. The first tune, I was like, I guess I can't solo. I don't know what I'm doing. And every time he finished with the solo, it's my turn because there's just three of us.
Oh, yeah.
And he had all these keyboards, and I wanted to play the low notes. I said, wait a minute, I need the low string because he's got, rocket ships and big giant ships of sounds like, it was like crazy.
Yeah.
So I said, man, I need that lower string. And then for the blowing, to get over the top of all that thickness of the synths and the Rhodes and all the stuff, I needed a little extra range. And I knew that the sixth string would have that for me too. And I could sort of pretend that I was trying to be like a tenor player and all that.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy, man.
So it kind of made it possible for me to deal with the orchestration because I felt like he was so all encompassing in what he could do that I had to figure out a way that I was still the bass player for the most part, and then also for the improvising that I could peek over the top of all that stuff and still people could hear the melodies I was trying to get to. But it was scary. I mean, every time he played a solo, it was just like the end of the world, and then it was my turn. And so I get the gig. That's another long story, but wound up getting the gig, and he calls me up one day and he goes, "Okay, the first gig." I said, "Wow, what are we doing?" So yeah, we're doing the Merv Griffin show, and Herbie and I and you and Tommy Breckline. That's the band, and I'm like, I'm standing there. I'm 25 years old, and I look across the street. The set we're playing on national TV, and it's Herbie and Chick, Chick and Herbie, and I'm just freaking. Two of my heroes, and I'm like, am I really here? Did I die already? Is this heaven?
Back in in the late 90s, early 2000s, well, really the late 90s, I was for a while I was kind of like the Coltrane family producer because I literally live around the corner from Michelle, and Oran used to live next door, and so and Alice did too. So and I played with Alice, a little bit before she passed, but I used to go produce stuff, and I will never forget a little kid running around, literally like, little baby in diapers, her cousin's son. And, when he was about 13 or 14, I was at Oran's house, and I remember he had done an intern at this label called Stone's Throw. Maybe he was a little older than that, but I had never heard any of his music. So he had his laptop, and he played me some beats he was working on. And immediately I was like, oh, he got the train thing, and it came out like this.
Wow.
And that person is who we know now as Flying Lotus.
And I'm from New York, and Roy from Texas, he tried to skip me in the line. I was like, yo. Nah, brother, you gotta get to the back. And he was like, oh man, but I'm and I was like, yo, I don't care who you are. You gotta get to the back. And he looked at me, he's like, well, who are you? I said, I'm Greg Hutchinson. He said, Greg Hutchinson? Oh man. And it just goes to show, I was in school in New York. Mm-hmm. He was not yet in New York, but we met. He was at Berkeley, actually. Mm-hmm. And so we hooked up, and he's like, yo, man, I want you to come play in my band. I was like, yeah, whatever. Talk. Right. And then it came around, and we started seeing each other more, and then I joined the band, and that was I like to say, there's a lot of great cats that came up during that time. Nicholas Payton had a band. Mark Whitfield had a band. A lot of cats had a band. Roy was different, man. To me, Roy was a guy who, like you talk about living for the music, and that's all he did day and night was just music. And a lot of people, they don't understand sometimes when you talk about Roy. Roy was so deep, man, and such a genius. And this relationship between trumpet and drums was so evident with me and Roy. Like, Roy was my guy. I would go anywhere. I would go places that we shouldn't even have been just to make sure he was good. I ain't gonna leave you out there like that. So when it came to the music, though, he always was thinking ahead. When it came to fashion, he was the first cat I saw rocking the suit with the sneakers. You know what I'm saying? Rocking, being different. Speak on it. I've spoken on it a lot. Look, man, it really don't matter how fast you play. Like that. I don't know why guys got this thing in their head, and it's kind of sad. So I like to tell cats, look, guys, chops are cool, but everybody sound the same. Yeah. And I'll be on the record, and I can say it because I got the resume to say it. Right. Man, everybody sound the same because everybody's trying to do the same, left, right, left, right, kick, snare, left, right. Come on, man. Like, so if Elvin played pop music now, this shit would be off the hook. Excuse my language. Because he would be phrasing everything they're trying to do, he would be doing that, but with the mindset of Elvin. Think about that, right?
Right. Yeah.
No, I really hope when they look back that they try and see that I really try to not just play the instrument, but elevate the people who came into my space with the instrument. So my philosophy always was, if you come to see me play and you had a bad day, I want to see you smile when you leave. And also that when you saw me play, it wasn't about me, but it was about the we. Yeah. That I play in the service of the music. That's why I got this thing now. I don't need drums, so I don't need a drum solo. Look, I get to do everything I want to do in the music. So I hope that people, when I'm not here, that they see that the evolution of me from 20, when that was something that needed to happen, to understanding, like, you know what? It was always about the music, but you understand even more the older you get, that I'm in service of the music. I'm in service of making the people around me sound good. I don't.
And I think we always talk down on the older gospel guys. And I'm going about to rant for 2 seconds. Out of all of the genres of music, and I'm in all of them, jazz, whatever. Jazz, we revere the older guys that came before us, like a Max Roach, a Elvin, or a Tane, or even a Greg Hutchinson. Right. But in gospel, if you're old, they're like, oh man, they old. I don't know why we talk down on the people that if it wasn't for them, we would not be here. Like, I think we forget that. So I ain't gonna rant too much, but I feel like we gotta reverence those older guys. And like I would meet artists that I want to work with production wise and didn't tell them I play drums. Sure. Because once they hear, oh, you a drummer, they assume you can't produce. So the meeting is already down 3 levels from as opposed to me just playing my music and they like, that's hot, let's get in. Right. So I always try to stay, even when I got the call to do Earth, Wind and Fire, I actually said no. That I was with an artist that was on retainer. I'm like, all right, I get this retainer. I can stay home and really focus on production. Yeah. So I always, for years, was like, I need to get off the road. But they kept calling, and I could not turn down Earth, Wind, and Fire. Sure, especially once I went and sat and talked to Maurice. And that was the kicker with that. They called Phil. I was playing with Philip Bailey already. Mm-hmm. And Philip and Robert called one day and was like, yo, we're about to make a change. Can you do this gig? Because they knew me, And I was like, nah, you know, I need to stay home. I want to produce. And they were like, well, come talk to Maurice. He had a studio in Santa Monica. Yeah. And I went down there, and Maurice White was the coolest dude ever. We talked maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
He was the most laid back. It's like, by the time we was done, he was like, all right. And his managers, the management, their office was in his studio too. Go tell him what you want. Tell him how much you want. And that was it. When I walked out, I was like, all right, I guess I'm playing for Earth 25. Yeah. We opened up for Maze the summer of 94, Frankie Beverly and Maze. Yeah. And Michael White was a drummer.
Yeah.
So I would see him play, and Maze is just straight. Everybody knows Maze is meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
So I don't think I purposely did it. I just never heard him chop. So I probably underestimated him. And, you know, they would set us up in front of their rig.
Right.
So one day we're sound checking, and Mike was up there checking his kit. And after our sound check, me and him started going back and forth.
Yeah.
Man, when I tell you he schooled me, I was like, I will never do this again. I will never underestimate, because that gig he's on, that's why he was on the gig. He played that gig to the T. He's probably probably my favorite Maze drummer, and I love all of them because all are homies, and they all smash. But Mike, with that gig,
oh man!
But that sound check, I was like, I'll never underestimate somebody older than me ever again. Right. They're old enough and disciplined enough to not care what you think. Like some of us, even if I'm at a club and I see all my homies there, of course I want to impress them. But my discipline tells me like that's not serving the song. So I'd rather you think I'm whack, but I played the song, than you think I'm dope and I didn't.
Right.
So after one of the shows, the tour manager here told me, he said, what you do, because you know, Hate Me Now, that's like a big energetic song. Mm-hmm. And at first, that was really the only song that I would kind of like open up on, pretty much. But he was like, no, what you doing, Hate Me Now, we want that on every song. So from that point on is when I kind of flipped the switch to like, all right, I'm just kind of coming in after somebody, just filling in the gaps to like, nope, this is my thing now. And they want me to make it my thing. But it's the kind of thing of, you know, I'ma just be me. You know, and who's gonna like it is gonna like it. Whoever isn't. Yeah. You know, I make this kind of comparison quite a bit when I'm talking about these kind of things. It's for me like the difference between a Snarky Puppy and a Beyonce. Beyonce, she could sell out a crowd. Snarky Puppy could sell out a crowd. Their crowds may not be the same, but regardless, if they do a show, they both can sell out crowds for who likes them. You know? Snarky Puppy, they not out here like, oh, how can I go get Beyonce's crowd? And Beyonce ain't like, oh, you know, Snarky Puppy's musician crowd, you know, I want to snag them. So let me make music that's only going to, you know, cater to them so they can come like me. You know what I mean? It doesn't become that kind of thing. You know, like I said, you said it in your question, authenticity. That's the biggest thing, you know, when you ask about what's the secret to it. I don't have a secret necessarily. For me, it's authenticity, consistency, you know, quality there.
Right.
And when I really wanted to take music more serious, Aaron was the person that I had talked to about that. You know, I was like, I want to take things to the next level. You know, what are some things that I should do? And for anybody that's watching this, always ask questions. Ask questions. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid of how stupid you might think your question is. Don't feel like you got it all together. Don't try to seem like you got it all together. If you have OGs in the game, ask them questions. I don't understand why people are so scared to ask questions. Ask questions. Well, so yeah, I asked Aaron. I was just like, I want to go to that next level. What should I do? He gave me a list. He was like, okay, do you have a drum rider? You know, do you have your passport? Do you have this? Do you have that? I didn't have none of that. So, you know, as soon as I finished talking to him, that's the first thing I did. I got right to it. And my mom, she was trying to encourage me to get my passport, but it took for Aaron to say it for me to actually go and do it. And it's crazy because just a short time after getting my passport is when I got the call to do Raheem, and it was out of the country. If I didn't have my passport, I wouldn't have been able to do the gig and probably wouldn't have got that gig, you know? So yeah.
Okay, so if you got value from this episode, do me a favor. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and share this with somebody who needs to hear it. New episodes drop every week. I'm Trevor Lawrence Jr., this is TrevBeats Show, and we out.
It's the TrevBeats Show, and we out. We out. We out. It's the TrevBeats Show, and we out. Trev Beats.